Bienvenidos. I'm Hazael Casesus, Interim Library Latinx Program Manager. And here on behalf of the Pima County Public Library and the Arizona Public Media, we welcome you to tonight's program.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, Hazael. My name is Cheryl Kirkin, and I'm Educational Outreach Coordinator for Arizona Public Media.
We're so excited to be here with you for the Global Arts Showcase, Mes de la Cultura.
Yay. And as you see, we cannot be gathered physically, but we're in this cool virtual space. So it's really important that we get your feedback. So make sure to post comments, so use the emoticons down below. You can post the clapping, you can use the smiley face, but we'd love to hear from you. And keep posting your questions throughout the event, because we will feed those later to our live Q&A participants. So we have a great event planned for you guys tonight. We're so excited to share all this fun stuff with you. But first, I'd love to have Hazael share a little bit about Nuestras Raíces, who is a key partner in this event. So Hazael.
Thank you, we'd be happy to. The Nuestras Raíces Committee celebrates and honors the culture, voice, and linguistic heritage of our Spanish-speaking and Latinx communities. Our team focuses on library services and outreach for our Latinx and Spanish-speaking communities. Our main goal is to have a greater access to library services and programming for those communities.
Cool, love it. Love Nuestras Raíces. Thank you so much for participating. And now I hear tell that there's some cool things available at the library branches for kids and families.
Absolutely, we wanted to celebrate and honor the Mes de la Cultura, and so our team has created some grab-and-go kits, and these are going to be available at all the Pima County Public Libraries, so please come on by, grab a grab-and-go kit. There's going to be some coloring sheets, all centered around arts, and some of the showcases that we'll be showing you tonight.
Oh, cool, and that's going to tie in very nicely to our next piece. So let's talk about tonight's program. So our first feature is going to be a sneak preview for you all of a piece by Andrew Brown, who is an Arizona Public Media producer for Arizona Illustrated. And it's about Carlos Valenzuela, who was a tile artist here in Southern Arizona. And you may not know his name, but you know his work, and you'll see it all over South Tucson and in other parts of the country. So it's a really cool piece, and it ties in really nicely to those little coloring sheets that the grab-and-go kits have in them. So we're really excited about that, and we're excited to share his story with you guys tonight.
And right after that, you'll get to experience the joy of mariachi music and folklórico dance. We have 3 performances from some local youth groups from here in Tucson, Arizona. You'll see Mariachi Estrellas de Tucson, Mariachi Los Changuitos Feos, and Ballet Folklórico Tapatío. And you'll be immersed in these traditional Mexican cultural arts that originated in Mexico, but they're a big part of our culture here in Tucson.
Right, and there's a lot of youth involvement, right, for these programs as well?
Absolutely.
You yourself, I think, were a folklórico dancer?
Yes, many moons ago I was also a dancer, and
Yep.
It's wonderful to see all our young generations keep celebrating these cultures and passing it on to future generations.
I agree, I'm so excited. And then I think we'll also, after that, hear from another member of your Nuestras Raíces team.
Absolutely. We're going to hear from Marisa Alcorta, who is member of the Nuestras Raíces team. She's also the branch manager of the Quincy Douglas Public Library, and she's going to be talking about the Frank de la Cruz collection that's held here at the Quincy Douglas Branch Library. And I would invite you all to come visit this collection. It's really neat. It's specially curated for Mexican and Latinx communities, and with topics all about Chicanos and Latinos. So please come and visit it.
Absolutely, and I've already spied some of those titles, and they are on my list of books to check out already. So
Wonderful.
Thank you so much. And so make sure to stay tuned after the performances, and still please keep those questions coming, because we really want to have all of your questions to feed to our participants in our live Q&A. And we are going to transition in just a little bit to go to our live Q&A. So we'll see you guys in just a minute.
This is a technique that my teacher, Linda Hayworth, taught me. When you begin, it's daunting, right? Because you got to put all these little pieces, one by one with a pair of tweezers. But once you get into it, it just kind of takes on its own rhythm. These patterns start forming, and it shows you what it wants you to do. My name is Carlos Valenzuela. I've been designing, painting, fabricating murals out of glass and tile since I was about 17 years old. I never went to art school. My artistic training came through apprenticing with a community artist.
I liked Carlos instantly because he looked like a homie. He visually looked like a classic cholo, but he was extremely soft-spoken. He wasn't machismo at all. Carlos and I worked together for a year. It was the first time that I had interacted with somebody that he was like a professional artist. 30 years later, I'm at the public library. It's like an open call for murals. This person starts talking and I'm like, and I look up and it's Carlos.
I didn't know who she was when I first saw her at the meeting, and she says, hey, you had a big effect on me as an artist, a positive effect on me as an artist, which is kind of flattering, but it's like, in what way?
A couple of days later, he reached out and said, do you want to maybe collaborate? And I was like, oh my gosh.
We got this wall, which has an odd shape. There's a lot of beautiful murals downtown for Rachel and myself. Murals are real important for narrative. It was important to use this opportunity to say something. It addresses, the incarceration of kids and people dying crossing the desert.
When we were working on this piece and people would come by and they'd ask like, oh, I'm a mural, whatever, and I have this little website and I like to tag murals and this and that, and we'd be like, well, have you been, I would be like, sorry. I'd say, you gotta go south of 22nd, you gotta go to Pasco, like you have to see, and it was like, what?
There's one from 2003, the mural we did on South 4th Avenue, and one of our students, one of the teachers at Las Artes. I've tried to document as much of it and print it so that I can take it places with me. And now everybody presents on their little iPad, but I still carry this book around.
I think Carlos is one of, if not the most prolific artist in town as far as making public pieces of art.
There's a vast amount of mosaic murals in South Tucson. And this is the tattoo mural. Everybody loves a tattoo mural. This is when the kids were making it. It stems from the Las Artes program, which was a county program that was started in the early 90s. It was a GED program. This is after 2 weeks of training, and they're making this kind of quality work. We developed a technique so that could happen. All these murals were created through community effort. They were created by young people that were a lot of times in very difficult situations.
When I first came to Tucson, I had already heard about Las Artes. If you were anywhere near the field of arts and youth development nationally, you knew that there was a really exciting program happening in Tucson that was turning heads. It was training youth who were having problems in school, creating an incredible amount of work that was dynamic, powerful, visually stunning. I met Carlos there for the first time. And then later on, I followed his work at the Pascuayaqui tribe.
Like how they decorate that one all the time. The Pascuayaqui Reservation probably has the largest collection of handmade glass and ceramic art, probably in the entire Southwest, and nobody knows. Each panel is a story that addresses a historical part of the community. The young people in this community have a respect for art and artists that I haven't seen anywhere else. And because of that, they took what they were doing very seriously. And you can see just in the craftsmanship of everything that's done here that they put that kind of effort and heart into it. One of the murals here that's one of my favorites and is very dear to me is one of the deer dancer. We had a photo shoot specifically with one of my students, Francisco Baltasar Paros. Paros is a very well-known deer dancer in the community. In the old days, he would have been a holy man in his tribe. He's got a pretty serious illness. He can't dance anymore because the illness caused for him to not be able to walk anymore. Had to deal with a lot of issues in his life. He must have been sent so that I could meet with him and work with him. My work here with the tribe, Pascuayaki tribe, this community, has been life-changing for me, to say the least. I found that in the production of this work, that they began to talk to each other about what's going on in their life, and as they were resolving these things on the table, these things up here were also getting resolved. I was very emotionally attached to that process, and there was a lot of healing, even for myself. Won't go into great detail, but childhood wasn't the easiest. Central City and South Central LA was a rough place to grow up. My mother was a seamstress, among other things.
I brought my 3 kids up by myself, and I thought, well, we need a little bit more in order for them to go to school.
These are some dolls that my mom made, and there's my daughter Julie. It's really symbolic of literally growing up around art.
I used to work during the day, come home at night and sew.
I learned from her that if you could make something with your hands and endow it with enough love, that you could feed your children. And that's kind of what I've been doing.
And I'm real proud of him because he would work, come home and do this artwork to all hours of the night. And then he would take me to see what he made, and it made me feel so good, I said, wow.
It's had an effect on my children as well. This is my son, Carlitos. As soon as they could walk, I started taking them to like rock concerts. And they saw the Misfits one time, and that was the result of that concert. He's in London studying. He's working on his master's degree in architecture and urban renewal. So it's become a family tradition. There's a tremendous amount of joy that comes from it. I'm very lucky, very blessed.
It was a dream of mine to be someone who could commission a mural for my home. It was like I never thought that would be possible. And I wanted Carlos to do it. Carlos is very special because he embodies the spirit of community generosity.
Almost like a Shakespearean sort of like tortured thing happening, like it's a different kind of experience, and I think that ties so much in to him as a person and his upbringing and his culture.
He could be the best, prolific, most talented guy, and if he didn't have that heart, it wouldn't matter the same way. It matters because every little piece of tile that you see there represented a giving, something he was digging deep inside from love, from understanding, from respect, and sort of putting it on that material.
Okay, so our first group up is Mariachi Estrellas de Tucson, which is a group under the direction of Jaime Valenzuela that began in 2016. Jaime and his entire family, including Dr. Alfredo Valenzuela, have been instrumental in promoting youth involvement in mariachi music in the Tucson area for over 40 years. With 28 members in the group ranging from ages 10 to 17, they perform all over Southern Arizona. They've participated in the Tucson International Mariachi Festival Conference, as well as other conferences and festivals. They take pride in giving back to the community by spreading the culture of mariachi music, and they really have fun doing so, and you'll see that in this next performance. We certainly had fun filming them right here at the Quincy Douglas Library branch where they have been recorded. So let's have a listen. You guys are gonna love it.
What a great performance.
Oh, it was. It was
I
so
really
fun.
enjoy that. I
Yeah.
like seeing all the young generation in their mariachi outfits.
Oh, those trajes are beautiful.
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 And love to see this young generation keeping up with the Mexican culture and arts. Really important.
Agreed. Yep.
Mariachi Los Changuitos Feos is widely regarded as the first youth mariachi group and the first seed of growing youth mariachi movement in the United States. The group includes 12 high school aged musicians under the direction of Salvador Gallegos. Founded in 1964,
Wow.
Los Changuitos Feos now carries a 5-decade legacy of making music and dedication.
Wow.
The organization helps to promote the education of their youth members by providing college scholarships, and part of their mission is to
that's great.
help to preserve their Hispanic culture and instill a sense of pride in music and language as well. We're so glad they're willing to perform for a live recording. Without further ado, here is Mariachi Los Changuitos Feos.
Yay.
Oigan, señores, el tren, que lejos me va llevando. Oigan, señores, el tren, que lejos me va llevando. Oigan los silbidos que echa cuando ya va caminando. Oigan los silbidos que echa cuando ya va caminando. Oigan y oigan, señores, oigan el tren caminar. Oigan y oigan, señores, oigan el tren caminar. Ese que lleva a los hombres al otro lado del mar. Ese que lleva a los hombres al otro lado del mar. Al pasar por Zapotiltec, me dijo una muy bonita. Al pasar por Zapotiltec, me dijo una muy bonita. Que dice, señor, me lleva, ya traigo mi maletita. Que dice, señor, me lleva, ya traigo mi maletita. Señora, no me la llevo, porque tengo a quien llevar. Señora, no me la llevo, porque tengo a quien llevar. Hasta lloraba la ingrata porque se quería enganchar. Hasta lloraba la ingrata porque se quería enganchar.
vida mía, que yo me daré otro tanto, que yo me daré otro tanto. Date gusto, vida mía, no vayas a ser que algún día el gusto se vuelva llanto, el gusto se vuelva llanto. Date gusto, vida mía. No vayas a que algún día el gusto se vuelva llanto.
Cuando me quedé dormida, cantando el gustito estaba. Ay, la, 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 ay, la, 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 ay, la, 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 la. Mi mamá me despertaba, yo me acerqué sentido para ver si me dejaba otro ratito contigo.
Oh, that was such a cool performance. It is so amazing to see how many youth are involved in mariachi and also in folklórico. So coming up next, we're going to see Ballet Folklórico Tapatío, which is a nonprofit dance group established in 1997 under the direction of Jose Luis Baca and Marisa Gallegos. And we do know that Haciel here was himself a folklórico dancer as well, which is really cool. This group is based in South Tucson, and they do have over 150 members, so it's a huge group. They've performed throughout the United States, Mexico, and Colombia, and are recognized as one of the finest folklórico programs in the nation. Tapatío's mission is to provide a healthy, safe, and inspirational environment where children and young adults have the opportunity to learn about Mexican culture and history through traditional regional dances. So we're so excited to have them, and you will see them here performing with Los Changuitos Feos. So enjoy.
Arriba de Cibanal, el hombre a la escondida.
Oh, that was so awesome. Those dresses are amazing, but I love the male dancing as well.
I'm glad you said that.
Why? Because the males, do you feel overlooked?
The girls always overshadow the boys. So I'm
that's
glad
funny.
you like our performances as well.
I do, I love it. So we're so excited to offer you guys the next opportunity for our live Q&A. So please be sure to keep adding those questions because we're going to feed those over to our participants. And we'd love to hear your questions. You guys always have so many interesting questions to ask our performers. So keep them coming our way and we will see you guys soon.
Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Mariachi Alcorta. I'm the branch manager here at Quincy Douglas Library. We're located on 36th and Keno Parkway. It's really an honor today to welcome you and introduce the Frank de la Cruz collection that we have housed here at Quincy Douglas. Frank was a librarian here for 35 years within our system, a great social activist, community organizer, has a really long legacy of advocacy for the Latinx and Spanish-speaking Chicano community here in Pima County and also Southern Arizona. He was really instrumental in bringing about the El Rio Neighborhood Center and Library off of Speedway. He was a librarian for many, many years at El Pueblo Library, and we're really honored that in this last year we renamed the El Pueblo Library the Frank de la Cruz El Pueblo Library in honor of him. Frank passed approximately 5 years ago, and we thought we would, as a Nuestras Raíces committee, find a way to really honor his legacy in this community and all the great work that he did, his lifetime work. So the Frank de la Cruz collection, it's ever growing, ever expanding. You can see a snapshot of some of what we have. Like I said, it's historical to contemporary. We welcome you to come and take a look. It's a browsing collection, ultimately, so you can come and take a look and see what might interest you. But there's also potential that if you do have a library card and you're at another part of the city or the county, you can also access our collection through our library catalog and reserve the collection, reserve any of the books, and they'll be sent to you to use. So we want to make sure that we have access across the county for the collection.
What an amazing show. That was so fun to see all of those amazing groups and to see that amazing piece on Carlos and his work. And we're so honored to be with our guest tonight. And I'd like to introduce you all. And I'm going to start with Carlos Valenzuela. Then we've got Alex Pizarro and David Mercado from Los Changuitos Feos. And then we've got Jose Luis Baca and Asheribel Zepeda. Asheribel is in both Tapatío and Changos, and Jose is the leader of Ballet Folklórico Tapatío. Then we've got Escarlin Chavez. Escarlin is here representing the Pima County Public Library, and Abby is in Changos. And then we've got Jaime Valenzuela and his niece Clarissa from Mariachi Estrellas. So welcome, everybody. We're so excited.
Good evening. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Hi. Thank you.
So what I will do is I'm going to turn it over to Escarlin, and then as we get questions from the audience, I'm just going to raise my hand and let you guys know that there is an audience question. And we also want to give a shout out. Andrew Brown, who created the beautiful Carlos Valenzuela piece, is amongst us in the audience. So please continue. You can ask Andrew questions in the chat. If you have any questions for Carlos, post those in the chat. We'll grab those. But without further ado, Escarlin, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Escarlin Chavez. I work for the Pima County Public Library, and I'm part of the Nuestras Raíces affinity team. Earlier in the program, you heard from my friend and colleague Hasael talk about the mission, and I just wanted to mention again that we really do value representing our roots, our values, the traditions of the Latinx communities here in Pima County. Buenas tardes para aquellos que hablan español. Mi nombre es Escarlin, soy trabajadora en la Biblioteca Pública del Condado Pima. Ahí estamos para servirle. Y pues me da mucho gusto de que estén con nosotros esta noche. All right, so before we begin, I would like to respectfully acknowledge that the lands we inhabit are the ancestral lands of the Tohono people, and recognize that they are the original stewards of the land on which we now live. It's important to state this explicitly to create conscience and to basically stop the erasure of Native people. I recognize that their connection to this land exceeds that of later groups who now call this home. As a Chicana myself, my ancestors, along with other groups like the Yaqui people, is part of these later groups that settled here. And we refer to ourselves by many different names, like Mexican, Mexican-American, Chicano, Latinx, Hispanic, BIPOC, etc. While some people still use the term Hispanic, many of us have stopped using it because it is a generic term that was mandated by the US government and a label for all Spanish-speaking people. It did not originate from within our cultures. So it's pretty Eurocentric and only highlights Spanish influences, disregarding the indigenous cultural influences that our identity is built on. Another thing that I wanted to mention is the importance of celebrating the traditions and cultures of our community, specifically marginalized minority groups. Some people may feel that celebrating a specific group is not fair to the dominant culture because they don't get celebrated. But this idea is, it detracts from and it devalues our contributions to this country. In order for us, I believe, in order for us to become a more inclusive society, it's essential that we highlight our diverse traditions, and we become more knowledgeable about different cultures from our own, and that we learn to appreciate our differences. So, which is why I'm very happy that you all could join with us and celebrate Mes de la Cultura. Okay. So, since you all have done such amazing work with our local youth, could you talk a little bit more about the value of visual arts and music for helping our kids connect to Latinx and Mexican heritage and culture? Anyone is welcome to chime in.
I believe that the value of visual arts is important for our youth, mainly because through dance and folklore, our dancers have the opportunity to showcase their talent on stage, but also tell a story while they're doing it. In folklore mexicano and danza, we're telling a story every time we perform. It's funny because I was talking to Sheribel right now that, after we perform, there's people that come up to say, why are you guys yelling at each other? But it's giving that visual look of to the audience that we're up there, we're in a fandango, we're in a fiesta right now. We're enjoying the music and we're celebrating our culture and our heritage. And that for us is very important. And it's very important for our youth to continue doing that as well. And they get to show that. And then in the future, it just keeps going and going and going. So that's very important for our youth to go ahead and continue carrying it on. And in dance, music and dance, we coincide. So, without music, there's no dance. So we love our musicians, and it's a huge part of our culture.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I've always been impressed with the young people that play in mariachi and play music. They're so professional. They have such a strong presence, and reflect so much pride, and it's beautiful. My mother, I was watching the young women dancing in their vestidos, and she made a lot of those vestidos. She also made the practice skirts. I remember folklorico groups from small children to young teenagers to adults coming to my mother's house for many years to have her make these beautiful things, these beautiful outfits traditional, and I could tell that she really enjoyed doing that. A lot of times she gave away her work. A lot of times maybe they didn't have enough for material or la mano de obra, you know what I mean? So, I learned that from my mom, that, that you could give back like that to your community. But it's really touching to see that. And it's always beautiful. It's always this spectacle of love and tradition that traveled around the world. And everybody knows about us, and they love our culture and all the things associated with it. So yeah, those young people are amazing, and the people who teach them are especially amazing. That you can do that and pass on that knowledge. What a gift.
Yeah, nicely said, Carlos. I like that.
Yeah.
Jaime, you want to talk a little bit about your role and sort of your pathway?
Yeah. Carlos and Jose Luis, they brought up really good points, and the youth of our, spreading the culture of Mexican heritage through dance, through murals, through mariachi music, and having the youth do that. Seeing the youth do that, connecting it all together through our community, and I think that's something really special for this. Definitely. So yeah, when you hear mariachi music, well, you automatically get excited, right?
Get excited, yeah.
You hear la negra, you hear the trumpets, they're then you add the colors of the particles and everything else. It's really beautiful to see.
Yeah. Yes. I wanted to thank you guys. Abby also did Folklórico with Tapatío, and as a mom, I've always seen you as like partners and helping me instill that culture in her, and in everyone in our community. So I thank you for that. Again, like I mentioned before, it's very, very important for our kids to continue with these traditions, these customs. At first, it may seem like you just don't. It's just something that you do because it's what you do with your family. It's what you learn. It's you go to practice because mom makes you at first. Eventually, you find that community of with their contemporaries, with the kids that are their age, and then they come home and in a carne asada there's grandparents and ninos and they're playing songs or hearing songs that then it ties those generations together, and that's tradition. And I just think it's lovely.
Going off what Escarlin said, Jose Luis plays a big role in not only teaching us the dance, but letting us know the backstory behind it, letting us know where it came from, where our ancestors came from, where that region came from. And I think it helps so much to learn about the culture, to learn about everything. So that plays a big role on that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, especially for people our age, I'm a product of two cultures, and for a lot of Mexican-American people like me, it can be really hard to like find and be aware of your identity. A lot of like our people like don't really see themselves represented in media, so like they tend to just assimilate to what's like, I guess, like whiteness in a way, just kind of to fit in. So yeah, the problem with that is that like I guess a lot of cultures and traditions get lost when that happens. That's why I really value like mariachi and folklórico, and like it holds a lot of value to my heart because it just makes me feel like I belong in a community. So I think that's really important.
If I can add to that.
Jaime, lean in when you talk. You lean more toward your mic.
Is this better?
Yes.
Okay, So if I can add to what Escaren and Abigail were saying, is what I've seen at the schools is when you see these kids, it gives them a sort of identity. Especially the kids that need it. A lot of the kids come from poverty and come from the barrios, and a lot of these kids don't eat breakfast because there's nothing to eat at home. So when they come to school and they start playing mariachi, it gives them hope. It gives them a identity. It gives them self confidence.
Self
And it
empowerment.
ties into everything. Especially these kids from the barrio that come from poverty. And I've seen it. I don't know how many times I've seen it. The benefits of dance and mariachi, and other things too. Sports and all the other activities that there is at school.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's what I've seen. Being an educator, that's a big part that I'm really happy to see.
Okay.
Yeah.
It looks like we have another viewer question.
We do. We have a viewer question. This one is for Carlos. Carlos, there are two questions that I'm going to ask. Jasmine asks, have you done any murals in other states? And Linda would like to know where we can see your work on the Tohono O'odham Reservation. I'm not sure if it was on the Tohono O'odham Nation or if it was on the Yaqui.
Yeah, it is on the Yaqui community in South Tucson. I've done murals all up and down the West Coast, Seattle, Washington, San Francisco. We did some work in Minneapolis. There's some pieces that the Yaqui students did that went to some of the pueblos in Sonora, the Yaqui pueblos. So there's work there.
Cool.
I had the great honor and privilege to work with some muralists in Colombia a few years ago in Medellin. They were installing a light rail system. So they had this really beautiful, elaborate light rail system that went through the city. And
wow.
I'm not going to say that I was a big part of that, but like I said, I was fortunate enough to be allowed to participate in that to some extent. So yeah, there's stuff in Texas. I'm going to be 49 October 2nd. I started doing murals when I was 17 and I've never stopped. So there's quite a bit of work out there, but the work that I'm the proudest of is here in Tucson. Tucson's a very special place. There's some amazing, it's always been very friendly to artists. The economy is changing in Tucson, especially the price of living here, renting. So that may change the map a little bit in terms of how hospitable it is to creative people. However, Tucson is a special place, and I'm really happy to be here. And of all the places that I've worked at and all the work I've done, Tucson, the work in Tucson is the one that I'm the most proud of, and part of that is because it was created by youth, and so I'm very proud of their work and what they've done and their craftsmanship. And every square inch of what you see out there was done by them with no training, no prior training or experience. With just a week or two of training, they were able to produce that work. So I'm very proud of it. So yeah, I've been real fortunate, and that's, I've been very blessed.
Felicidades. It's very, very beautiful.
I agree. We are very lucky to have you, Carlos. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay. We have another question here, and this one is both for the Folklórico group and for our mariachi groups. And there's questions about both the trajes and the dresses, wondering if there is a particular history to the trajes, and is there any particular symbolism to the clothing that both the men and women wear in Folklórico? Jaime, do you want to talk? You can go.
Okay.
Jose Luis.
Okay. So for the
He's our historian.
The traje de charro, the one that you saw in the video, that's gala. So that is high class, right away. You look at the girls with the ribbon and everything. The ribbons state how much money you have. So it's high class, it's I'm high class. When you look at the old school, when before everything was flower print. So if you look at old pictures of Mexico and trajes in Mexico and everything was floral print. So it's the campesino look that you see in pictures. The Revolucion, the pictures are very, earth tone colors. There wasn't nothing really bright. But as, the history started going on and the movement started happening, people started, los ricos empezaron a hacer los mismos trajes, pero a su estilo. They started making it, more elaborate, more, it's like the bigger the dress, the more expensive, the more money you have. So it's kind of like, your social classes, like your upper, middle, and lower class. So, the traje de charro, there's a lot of symbolism in the traje de charro that you can look at. And I personally like the old school. I like the manta traje de charro was Jalisco Ranchero. That's when the music, when you just, and you can look at, and you go back in the history books with music también, the trumpet wasn't a part of mariachi when it started, so you had the guitarrón, you had the harp, and I'm pretty sure our mariachi directors, can look at all that and they can say yes, because when you look at it, and then when they danced, it was very, very like the fandango, the fiesta look and everything, and with the traje de charro now, it's just, it's like the more expensive, the more money you have, apparently. And they're very expensive now.
Yeah, groups have to do a lot of fundraising for those outfits. So all you audience out there, if you ever see a fundraiser, go to it, because you're supporting a great cause.
Yes, please do.
Yes. We've got one more question, and I want to hear from Alex and David and our other students. And this is, and especially with you, Charibel, and doing multiple groups, how many days a week do you guys practice? And how do you balance your school and art life and life in general? A lot of times you guys have jobs as well, in addition to doing folklórico and mariachi. So do you guys want to talk a little bit about that balance?
Yeah. For me, I spend a lot of my time practicing. As you can see here, we're in a studio. This is a studio that me and my friends, we like to come here and just record whatever's on our mind. Sometimes we have a random melody that comes to our head. And even if it's just coming to record, for me, that's still considered practice, because like I'm in here recording with the metronome in my head, and I'm always gonna have that beat in my head. And for me, that's like very important, especially as a rhythm player. It's just, our biggest job as an armonia player is to keep time. So I spend a lot of time practicing. Aside from that, really with school, I usually like to get my school stuff done first. I don't really enjoy it, but it's like, I'm like, I have to do what I got to do. So it's always after my schoolwork comes music right away. As soon as I put the pencil down, I go grab the guitar and go sit on the couch and play whatever.
As far as for changos, before COVID, we were practicing twice a week, and it's usually about 2 hours. And for me, for the students that I had, I always recommended, at least once a day, if not every day, try to get your hands on an instrument, even if it's only 20 minutes. Those 20 minutes make a really big difference when it comes to performance time and when it comes to actually memorizing a piece. Because for mariachi, there's no music in front of you, and there's nothing to help you. You have to memorize everything, and then you have to go up on stage and actually perform it, let alone just playing some notes. So we would practice twice a week. Now we're down to about once a week. We are getting a few things coming up, like the performance that everyone just saw. So we added a few extra practice into that. And then I still always say, at least 20 minutes a day makes a huge difference. You don't have to practice till your fingers bleed, but those 20 minutes go a long, long way.
Good advice. Clarissa?
I
I go to school, and so I like to get that done first, and then it's always mariachi after, always.
And do you play violin, Clarissa?
Yes, I do play
Okay.
that.
Awesome.
She's actually with Mariachi Aslan, the Pueblo High School. Her
Okay.
is in Estrellas, which is sitting right next to me here.
I also when I'm in school, my 7th period is mariachi Aslan.
Yeah.
Great.
I
And
remember in high school, me and Alex actually also played with Aslan. We graduated now. But yeah, I remember finding it really like crazy to balance mariachi in school, especially being in Changos, being in Aslan. Like when you're in Aslan, like that's like the class is practice, and then there's 2-hour practice after school too. And then balancing that in classes, it was always kind of crazy, but it was just like so nice having like just this after this after this, and then it gives you like a really good chance to bond with your like your members. I remember in Aslan, I felt so like connected to the people in my group because we were always together, like during school, after school, gigs all the time through the week and the weekend. So it was fun.
Yeah, so I do want to point out what you just said, Abby, and talking about not only do you guys have practice, but there's always gigs. So you have gigs on the weekend. A lot of times you have 2, 3, 4 gigs on the weekend, sometimes a gig during the week. These kids are busy.
And amazing. They have to learn how to organize their time and use it wisely. I remember we would use like the time in the car to finish up homework and get ourselves to practice and back home that way.
Yeah.
And shout out to all the parents out there that have their children, because all of us have to do the whole momager thing, where we have to organize it all, the family meals and everything at home, and getting to work and getting the kids ready and to all of their practices, and also taking care of those trajes so that they don't get dirty.
Yes, and they do get dirty. They get really dirty. Sheribel, did you want to share?
Well, I think since I can remember, I've always had something to do. I've always had practice. I'm always very busy, but I like to put alarms. I'm a very structured person. I think my mom might not like that sometimes because I'm a very like, oh, I have practice from here to this time and I have to be there. And if that means I go to half of Tapatío and half of Changos, I'll make it work, but I go to both and I try to always go to both, and I always try to go to practice because for me, practice is a freedom. It's a way of, I forget about everything that's going around me. Like, it's just, I'm dancing because I'm happy and I'm playing because I'm happy. And it's something that I enjoy doing. I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's something that is so relaxing. And it's a way to express the way I feel. And so, yeah.
I love that. Well, unfortunately, we are out of time, and I do want to thank everybody so much for joining us here and giving our audience a chance to get to know you guys and get a little glimpse into your lives. Thank you for sharing of yourselves. Escarlin, thank you so much for sharing all of those important points that you shared with us and our audience. Those are really important messages that we need to hear, frankly, a little bit more often. So thank you so much for sharing that. And again, just a big thank you to Mariachi Estrellas, Ballet Tapatío, and Mariachi Changuitos Feos, and to Carlos Valenzuela. Thank you guys again so much. And we hope we can all meet again soon at some point and do a repeat of this amazing event. So thank you guys.
Thanks,
guys.
Keep up the great work, all of our students and directors. We hope to be able to see you out soon as it's safe, because there's nothing better and more alegre than a live mariachi and folklórico show.
Yep.
Yes.
And go check out our interactive map, so you can go check out some of the murals. You'll be able to go check out and find some of Carlos's work. It's all over Tucson, and you're gonna have a great time doing it.
Check out the collection for Frank de la Cruz. I had brought some,
Yes.
but we ran out of time.
Yeah, the Frank is an amazing collection.
Yes, absolutely. Representation matters.
Yes, it does. All right, thank you guys again, and everybody have a great night. Kids, have a great school year. Best of luck, and we hope to see you out playing soon.
Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Nada, gracias a todos ustedes. Un gran abrazo virtual para todos ustedes. Gracias por compartir de ustedes. Es muy, muy importante.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes. Buena
Yeah.
suerte a todos.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you, guys.